Hey Guardians, I just want to let everyone know that I do have both a Twitch and a Twitter, and I'm very active on both. Feel free to come give me a follow on both, links in the description. So, Iron Banner is back, and man is it rough so far. The last few Iron Banners were actually pretty chill, so I'm disappointed that Iron Banner this season, so far at least, fucking sucks. So, with Banner being in its current state, are the reprised weapons worth grinding for? Well... let's start by taking a look at Crimil. We're gonna get two things straight right now. First, there is no PvE play for this gun. You have strategists, and that's pretty much it for PvE, and 120s are just not good in PvE. They fire too slowly, and their mags are too small. And second, no, this weapon is not a competitor for Igneous. I've seen this dozens of times now, and having Precision Instrument is not enough to make this an Igneous competitor, and let's talk about that for a second. So, just to be clear, I hated Crimil when I first tried it. I don't hate it as much now, but I can't say I'm a big fan of it. Now, it having Precision Instrument does mean that if you're a free-to-play player, it's probably worth trying to get at least a half-decent roll with Precision Instrument, but if you're not free-to-play, then please do not waste your time, Engrams, and Glimmer on Crimil and just go focus Iggy from Saint from the Legacy pool. Now, the base stats between Crimil and Iggy are actually fairly similar, with Crimil being slightly inferior, but the biggest difference is Igneous base stats are still better, and it has ricochet rounds for range and stability, and it has keep away, and of course keep away gives you a free range boost and boost to your reload speed, and all this together means that Igneous just has an easier time getting high stat spreads. And of course Crimil does not have any of this, no keep away and no ricochet rounds. So keeping that in mind, moving on to rolls, you can't have your cake and eat it too on this like on Igneous. You'll have to decide what you want to prioritize and move on from there. So my top picks for barrels would be Fluted Barrel for handling and stability, Small Bore for range and stability, and Hammer Forged for range. Then for your magazine, Steady Rounds or Accurized Rounds. Steady Rounds will give you 15 stability and 7 AE at the cost of 5 range, and Accurized Rounds will just give you a flat 10 range, no penalties. Then for your Masterwork, I'd say go for something that evens your total stats out. If you decided to go with Fluted and Steady, then go for a range Masterwork to make up for the lost range on Steady Rounds. If you went for Fluted Barrel and Accurized Rounds, go with Stability or Handling if you don't mind having heavier recoil. Small Bore and Accurized, Stability or Handling. Hammer Forged and Accurized, Stability Masterwork. Hammer Forged and Steady Rounds, Handling. You get the idea. And of course, keep in mind, enhancing and leveling Crimil will help round out some of those stats. There's a lot of different ways you can try to min-max this depending on what you prioritize, and if I went through each of the possibilities, then this video would be like an hour long, so you can go to D2 Foundry and plug those in and figure out what you want for yourself. Now, in that third column, your best options by far are Slideways and, believe it or not, Air Trigger. Slideways is often viewed as a worse version of Slide Shot, but I don't necessarily subscribe to that. It's not worse, it's just different. Now, Slideways will partially refill your magazine, give you around 25 stability and 20 handling for 3 seconds, and unlike Slide Shot, you have those bonuses for the full 3 seconds instead of until your first shot. This does have a slight cooldown, but you can bypass this by swapping to another weapon and then swapping back to Crimil. And those bonuses are huge if your role of choice lacks stability or handling. It makes Crimil feel so much more usable. Then next up, Air Trigger will help your in-air accuracy, but the main reason Air Trigger is a good choice is it can be used to completely bypass Crimil's abysmal reload speed. With Air Trigger, you can just short hop and reload at the same time to get the boost to your reload speed, and while I can't find the numbers, it is a substantial boost around on par with Outlaw. The difference, of course, is Outlaw requires a kill and Air Trigger does not. My favorite roll of Crimil so far has Air Trigger on it, and the boost to your reload speed does make Crimil feel so much better, and it allows you to get back in the fight much faster. And of course, you do also have Enlightened Action, Moving Target, and Outlaw here, but the choices I mentioned are exponentially more helpful, so I would disregard pretty much everything but those two. Now, in the fourth column, which you can see on your screen now, obviously the top choice here is Precision Instrument, bonus damage on hits, and the two main reasons this is so valuable on a 120 is 1. The resilience gate for 2 crits and 1 body on a 120 is 7. Precision Instrument raises it to 9. And 2. Precision Instrument will let you 3 crit a Guardian through an overshield. Void Titans are still everywhere, giving themselves and their teammates free overshield, so the value here is self-explanatory. Now, in the event this gets nerfed, your next best options would be Zen Moment for decreased recoil and increased flinch resistance on hits, and explosive payload to flinch your opponents harder and also basically flashbang them whenever you hit them. The combos here are really up to you. My favorite role has Air Trigger and Precision Instrument, though Slideways is by no means a bad choice. Now, I'm sure you've noticed all these roles are dueling roles, and I've ignored what used to be the most coveted role on Crimil's when it was last in the pool, Outlaw and Kill Clip. 120s are kind of a hard sell as slaying out weapons these days. Kill Clip unfortunately does not allow for a 2-tap at any resilience without help from other sources such as Radiant and Kinetic Surges. Now, Adagio will let you 2-tap anyone under 10 resilience at the cost of a slower fire rate. A 2-tap with Adagio has a TTK of 0.6 seconds as opposed to the normal TTK of 1 second on a 120. But keep in mind, while you'll for sure farm Hunters and most Warlocks with Adagio, if you're fighting Titans, it's a gamble. A 10 resilience Guardian will need 1 crit and 2 body shots to secure the kill with Adagio, and while that's very forgiving, Adagio's lower rate of fire actually brings your TTK up to 1.2 seconds, which is slower than even the base TTK of a 120, so Adagio is something of a gamble, but if you want to try and slay out with Crimil's, then this is by far your best option. Now, as far as Crimil's performance goes, objectively speaking, I don't think it's necessarily a bad 120, but I really didn't care for it much. Now, the sights are clean and the weapon model is fairly unobstructive, but Crimil's just feels slow and unresponsive. I had to slow down how I play substantially to make it work, and to be honest, for the vast majority of my time using Crimil's, I was just wishing I was using a different weapon. And listen, I tried at least a dozen different roles on this gun. You can see my favorite role overall on your screen now, but after using Crimil's for a while, I put Igneous back on and the difference was night and day. Then I tried Sturm and Round Robin, and even without Precision Instrument for pure weapon feel, the difference was still night and day. So for Crimil's to really feel like a competitor, I would say it needs Keep Away more than anything else. If you're not a free-to-play player, just go focus on Igneous Hammer from Saint until you get a good roll, and of course you can reference my Igneous video if you want to know my role choice for Iggy. The only thing that's changed now is Precision Instrument is the best choice in the 4th column. So to summarize here, Crimil's is okay if you're a free-to-play player and need a Precision Instrument 120, but otherwise it's a waste of time and resources. Now, next up is Claws of the Wolf. This is a Void Energy rapid-fire pulse rifle, and as always, you can acquire it from Iron Banner as a random drop or via focusing at Saladin. Now, it's no secret that I actually really like rapid-fire pulse rifles. They're great brawler weapons, and we do have a number of very good rapid fires these days, so Claws does have some stiff competition. Luckily, this weapon does have a very good perk pool, definitely a PvP focused pool, but there's 1 or 2 roles for PvE also. So starting with your barrel, my favorite option here is fluted, mainly because rapid fires struggle with handling and stability tends not to be that great either. So on your screen now are Claws base stats. Fluted barrel takes your stability up to 44 and your handling up to 36. For your magazine, ricochet rounds will take your stability up to 54 and your range up to 39. High caliber rounds isn't a bad option here either, as the increased flinch is actually pretty vicious on a rapid fire, but I do prefer ricochet rounds just for the stat increases. So with this roll, you're looking at a range stat of 39 with an effective range of 32 meters, then your stability is at 54 and your handling is at 36. And keep in mind, if you enhance Claws of the Wolf and get it up to level 20 or so, you'll get a slight stat boost to your non-masterwork stats. Now, your masterwork is mostly up to you, but given that these are not good weapons for laning playstyles, I would go with handling or stability depending on what you prefer. I prefer stability just because it makes the recoil way more controllable. Now, in those 3rd and 4th columns, for PvP you have Headseeker, To the Pain, Elemental Capacitor, Snapshot Sights, and Perpetual Motion, though Repulsor Brace is an option if you have a strong Void build going. Then in the 4th column, Rampage, Kill Clip, and Zen Moment. For a pure dueling role, look no further than Headseeker with Zen Moment. Now, Headseeker doesn't offer as much shot forgiveness assist as it used to, but the increased aim assist from landing body shots is noticeable and very helpful. Then Zen Moment mainly for the recoil reduction, as rapid fire pulse rifles do like to jump around quite a bit, and of course the flinch resistance is always very, very helpful. Other honorable mentions would be Elemental Capacitor and Zen, or Snapshot and Zen. To the Pain is a perk I'm not sold on yet for now. While it's not a top pick for me, you may want to still try out To the Pain roll just to see if you like it. And of course, Perpetual Motion is never a bad option, but I did get a Perpetual Motion roll and it just didn't seem to fit this weapon very well. Now for kill chaining, I would go with Headseeker with Kill Clip or Perpetual Motion with Kill Clip. Headseeker again for the aim assist, and Perpetual Motion because when it's procced, it will increase your reload speed, which does work very well with Kill Clip. Now normally these pulse rifles have a base TTK of around 0.73 seconds to 0.8 seconds depending on resilience, 0.73 if the target is 5 resilience or lower, above that and you're at the 0.8 mark. Now at tier 5 you can achieve that TTK with 8 crits, tier 6 you need 7 crits and 2 body shots, tier 7 and above 8 crits and 1 body. Then with Kill Clip procced at tier 8 and above your TTK drops to 0.67 seconds, tier 7 or below and it stays the same, but you can get a body shot in there. Now my second choice would be Rampage, though keep in mind before you shave any time off your TTK you'll need multiple stacks. So 2 stacks of Rampage and you're at 7 crits from tier 4 to tier 10 resilience, tier 3 and below 6 crits and 1 body, same TTK as Kill Clip as well. Then 3 stacks and your TTK unfortunately does not change, but at tier 7 to tier 10 you can get away with 6 crits and 1 body, tier 6 you're at 5 crits and 2 body, tier 5 and below 6 crits again. So I would say Kill Clip is just a better option than Rampage purely because it's more consistent and straightforward. Now as far as performance goes, Claws of the Wolf does feel very nice. The scope is somewhat obstructive, but the weapon model is slim and unobtrusive. Claws is also very controllable and just generally feels very nice to shoot, and with the aim assist stat of 78 it also has no trouble snagging crits. Really the only issue I had with this weapon is again it does have very low handling and a very low reload speed, which can make it feel heavy and unwieldy at times. So definitely pair this with dex mods and or an exotic that will help your handling and or reload, such as Ophidian Aspect, Speedloader Slacks, you know the drill by now. And really the main issue here currently is there's a lot of long range play going on. There's a whole lot of people sitting back with high impact pulse rifles and scout rifles, and the map rotation is favoring a lot of the big maps right now. And with my favorite roll that I was fortunate enough to get with fluted ricochet rounds, Headseeker, Zen Moment, and a stability masterwork, you have 41 range, which gives me around 32 or so meters. Now with that roll I also have 74 stability plus Zen Moment. This gun is a laser beam and I feel very comfortable dueling most weapons within that 32 meter range, but the instant they're outside of that range it really starts to struggle. The low handling can also be rough to deal with, and if there's one adjustment I would like to see to rapid fire pulses, it would be a handling buff. The thing about rapid fires is they're brawler weapons. A friend of mine described them as almost mid-range SMGs, and I think that's fairly accurate, but the low handling makes using these weapons like brawlers very difficult. So overall, I'm pretty happy with Claws. So the question is this weapon worth the awfulness that is Iron Banner this season? Well, the answer is if you like rapid fire pulse rifles, then yes, it absolutely is. But if not, you can ignore it. Rapid fire pulse rifles are a lot of fun, but they're more of a niche choice to be sure, and high impact pulse rifles are so far superior to the other pulse rifle archetypes that this gun is kind of a hard sell. Now I will also very briefly mention that there is some PvE play for Claws as well. Obviously Kill Clip or Rampage with something like Perpetual Motion to increase your reload speed will be fine for ad clear, but what I really like here for PvE is Repulsor Brace with destabilizing rounds. The two synergize perfectly and it's a good way to make sure you have an almost constant overshield. Now I would be somewhat reluctant to use this in endgame content such as a GM, but short of that it's just a very fun choice. So So overall for these weapons, I'm not a fan of Crimil's, but I do like Claws of the Wolf. That being said, with SBMM plus FBMM plus no freelance node and the currently awful map rotation, and the currently awful ability spam meta, and the absolutely unreasonably high cost of focusing the mostly mid-tier Iron Banner weapons, coupled with the brutal RNG this game has, and the awful modes, in all honesty, I think it's probably time for Iron Banner to be shelved for the time being until some reworks can be done. Like, there's no reason that resetting your rank with Saladin shouldn't give you extra perks on these weapons, and there's no reason for SBMM in 6s, and no reason there shouldn't be a freelance node given that playing solo is just painful due to how much people like to stack in Iron Banner. I used to really enjoy Iron Banner, and like I said, the last few Iron Banner sessions have been pretty chill, but this time around it's really bad. But anyway, that's all for me today, Guardians. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor and leave me a like and comment your thoughts on these weapons. As always, the best way you can support me is to subscribe with the bell icon and share this video with anyone you think might find it helpful or entertaining. For now, I'll see you all in the next one. Peace, Guardians.